So let me ask, have you ever started something and you just lost the motivation and couldn't see it through to the end? Or maybe you kind of like seen people who are like always going at full steam. And even when small or big things happen, they seem to be able to push through it. If that's the case, then today's workshop is for you guys. I am here to teach you how leaders make themselves and their teams unstoppable. We're going to be talking about momentum. We're going to be talking about energy. We're going to be talking about all the things because I really want you to not only use this to fuel you through the end of the year, but also use it in 2023. So guys, welcome to Modern Leadership, where we see things differently. This channel is for high-performing leaders, people who want to excel in multiple areas of their life, including their family, their business, their relationships, their physical health, but they want to do so without like losing their family time or like losing their health, or most importantly, burning themselves out. We don't want any of that here on this channel, and that's why we look at things differently. And that's what we're going to be doing today. We're going to be fully diving into momentum and how you can not only create it, but then how you can protect it at all costs. Now, if you haven't seen, we have had a lot of great workshops recently, some of which talking about the success equation, like how to create success in the new year, following a simple, like really way of breaking down what's going on in your life, like how you can like literally level up in certain areas, but then also how it's not just you working harder. Sometimes it's you thinking a little bit outside the box. All right. That is the success equation. Then we talked about like how leaders think of time differently. We think of it through our leadership lens. And there's a workshop that I put together that really help you not only excel when it comes to your time, but also get more done in less time. We've had several other workshops. We have them coming up every Saturday at 8 a.m. Pacific, just like the one that you're making here if you are here live with me, or if you're watching this on the replay. Definitely make sure that you subscribe, that you click the notification bell so that you get the notification before we actually go live. Plus, if you have the ability of having a conversation with me here live, which is what we're definitely going to do. I got some of my people here already. Trisha's here, Kiara's here. Ed, what is going on, my brother? And then my amazing wife, Teresa, the most supportive woman on the freaking planet. But I'm going to totally deliver for you guys on like how you can make yourself and your team unstoppable today. But I'm going to be doing this every single Saturday for anybody who loves workshop-based routines. Now, here's what the power of workshops are. Like workshops are really about like me helping teach something, but then helping you identify how this applies to you in your life. Like I can give you all of the steps, all of the tools, all of the things that I've been able to do to get to where I am, whether it's in my business, my police career, my family, and that's great. That's called mentoring. We were kind of talking about this with my push coaches this morning, but really what I want to do is I want to show you that there's infinite number of possibilities that are out there. And if we can look at things from a different lens, we can look at things through our leadership and coaching lens, we can literally help impact people because we can show them how it will apply to them in their situation too. Now, when we talk about like energy and momentum like we are today, some of you guys have energy and momentum naturally. Like it's a natural gift. When people like see me on social media, when people watch me in videos, I always get this. I always get, Mark, I don't know what happened, but at the end, I felt like I wanted to run a marathon and I'm not a runner. And sometimes it's because of my natural energy, but in reality, like this is how I generate energy and create momentum. And you can do the same thing, even if you don't have a natural energy for video, a natural energy for coaching, a natural energy for leading. We're going to find out how you can actually develop that in yourself and you using your superpowers, not looking at my superpowers and then comparing yourself to me, because that is never helpful at all. Okay. And that's the purpose of this. So I know I kind of said this a minute ago, but I want to welcome everybody who is here live. I appreciate you guys so much, even Elizabeth and Shelly. And I already said Kiara and Trisha with an I and Ed. I appreciate you guys for being here. As we go through this, I'm going to be asking you guys questions. I want to participate back and forth. I'm actually, if I look over on the left, it's because I'm looking at some of the comments and stuff that you guys are putting over there. This is one of those things where if you're here live, I can give you so much more value when you give me feedback inside of the chat. All right. Now, if you're here on the recording, I also want you to leave chat and comment section there because I will go back throughout the week and really help not only answer your questions, but when you show me like what it is that you want to achieve, because I've helped so many people achieve those things. And I'm talking about like multiple things at once, never just a one size fit all thing. I can really give you some different ideas, suggestions, maybe even share some different videos on my channel for you that can really help you make a huge impact, right? Because I know that's what you guys are here to do, is here to make a huge impact in the world. And you can do that by creating massive momentum for you and your team, which is what we're going to be doing here today. Okay. So, like I said, next week, we're going to be talking a lot about a goal setting session that I'm going to put you through, but I'm also going to be talking about core values, because anytime that we start setting goals, if we're out of alignment with our core values, we're actually not going to see it through to the end. That's going to happen next week. But this week, I really want to dive into this creating momentum. All right. And when I like to think about this is I like to think about this like a freight train. Okay. I like to think about this like a freight train. I don't know why the word freight train as opposed to steam train. I don't care. Just think about a train. All right. When it is going at full steam, all right, full electricity, full whatever power it has, if there's something that's on the track, if there's like a wall that's like blocking it, it literally can plow through it. It's kind of unstoppable, right? It can just like plow through it and just keeps going. It sometimes doesn't even slow down. But at the same time, if you have a train that's stopped, it has no momentum, it hasn't started, right? You put a little rubber block in front of it, it doesn't matter how much energy or effort you put into the train, it's not going to move. And I see so many people having a block in front of their train, whether it's around their personal health, whether it's around their career, whether it's around their business, whether it's around their relationships. And really what I want to do today is I want to remove that block from you, all right? Because here's the thing, if you notice that one small thing can get you off track, like let's say you're trying to get healthy and you accidentally eat the wrong food that day. Not accidentally, but you eat the wrong food that day, right? And that now throws you off track. It's because you have no momentum. All right. What happens when you have a business and you invite somebody to join your business and they say no? Or you have a workshop that you put together and nobody shows up, right? If you don't have any momentum, you could very easily put a block in front of yourself and say, well, this just isn't possible for me. You see, I always fall off. I always go into these habits. I always do this and I always do that. And none of those things are true. They're all just stories that we're telling ourselves in here, but it gets us to feel comfortable because we get back into our old routines, which means we don't have to step out. We don't have to do those things. All right. But instead, I want you to create this momentum. I want you to have massive energy. We're going to talk a little bit about conviction, being convicted to your specific goals and what you want to put out into the world. And when you do that, you're going to notice that there's still going to be things that pop up. Guys, there's going to be things that pop up. There's going to be like walls that are going to be in front of us. There's going to be people who say things about us. There's going to be like opportunities that we're not going to make. We're going to say things that we shouldn't say. We're going to do all of those things because we're human and we have this brain. But I want to let you know that when you're going full steam, that stuff will not even slow you down. And that's really the purpose of what we're going to be doing today, is I want to tap into that piece that's inside of you. Sometimes it's hidden, sometimes it's there on the outside, but it's kind of like what my mentor, Josh Coach, says is like when the fire goes on the eyeballs, you can see when somebody's passionate about what it is that they're doing and they've really got that fire going on. It can look the same. I mean, it takes the same amount of time to record a video versus like just checking the box saying, oh, I got to do this video and I just got to do it because it's what I have to do, versus sitting down and going, no, I need to share this message with people. Like people have a block in front of their train. And if I don't help them like remove that block, they're literally going to be giving a ton of energy and effort into this and never seeing any results from it. People need me on my A game. So I hit the record button. I drink a little pre-workout and I'm ready to go. And here I am, right? And it takes the same amount of time and it's going to be the same for you. When I think about creating massive momentum, people typically tell me it's going to take too long. It's going to take too much energy. I've tried this before. I've never succeeded in the past. And I'm like, dude, all those things are irrelevant. All right. I promise you, I can find a way to help you create momentum in less time, do something you've never done before so you can have something you've never had before. And that's the purpose of what we're going to be talking about here today. All right. So who am I? I know I kind of got a little bit 8 minutes in. You have probably, some of you guys have no idea who I am. My name is Mark Hildebrand. I'm a best-selling leadership author. I'm a police sergeant from LAPD, only for 2 more months. I am the co-creator of a life coach school called the Push Coach Certification School. I am a life and legacy coach for leaders. I'm also a master coach instructor. And all of those things I tell you because I screwed them all up and I had no idea what I was doing, but I stumbled through it. I found other mentors. I found people like Josh Coates, people who like Brooke Castillo, people who like were willing to teach me like the different things that they did in order to help me succeed. And that's what I want to be for you guys here today. I want to be your hope. I want to be your possibility. I want you to be like, you know what? If he can do this, I can do this too. And that's really why I wanted to dive into momentum, because this is something that, especially when it comes to energy, it's something that happens naturally to me. What's crazy is that I am a introvert. I know a lot of the people who follow me, they don't realize that that's the case because when the lights go on, I don't know what happens. Something like comes inside of me and I'm just like super excited to be here. But I promise you, if you talk to Teresa, she's going to tell you that after this, I need to take a 3-hour nap because I need to be able to recover, right? And so it's not the fact that I'm an introvert that allows me to get this energy. It's the fact that I've been able to tap into it. And that's why people come to me. They're like, how do I tap into that kind of energy, Mark? And first off, I want to say, you don't need to be Mark 2.0, all right? I want you to be you 2.0. I don't want you to have to compare yourself to me because that's kind of unfair because I have different strengths and different weaknesses than you, right? And so really finding this way of you creating this momentum for yourself, which is what we're going to be doing today, I'm going to use some questions to really pull out of you what this actually looks like, okay? Are you guys ready to learn? If you are, I'm ready to teach you, all right? So I need you to write this down, all right? And I'm not going to come over here and put it in the chat. Normally I'll do this if I'm on one of my live webinars or something on Zoom, but I can't do this right now. So I want you to write this down, all right? And that is, I want you to know that leaders know the way, they go the way, and they show the way, all right? John Maxwell says that leaders know the way, they go the way, and they show the way. This is an important piece because sometimes when we first get started with momentum, it does take some extra energy to get off. Like they say, when an airplane's trying to take off, it has to use like 80 or 100% of its energy to literally get itself up in the air, and then just it can coast the rest of the way. And sometimes that can kind of feel like a little daunting. But I want to let you know that as a leader, it is your responsibility to set the tone. It's your responsibility to, number one, know the way. And the way is, it's going to be difficult in the beginning. It's going to take some energy, but this is what I'm here to do. If you're truly there to inspire people, to change people's lives, you have to be willing to feel uncomfortable, but do it anyway. All right. Now, I'm not saying burn yourself out and work 24/7. That is the wrong channel. Like, I'm sure you can go find the Gary V's and all those other people who are saying that you should hustle your face off. That is not this channel. I want you to find ways that you can actually do this that don't pull from those other areas of your life and can allow you to excel as well. So number one, they know the way. They know it's going to be uncomfortable. Number two is they go the way. So they go the way, not just when they feel like it, they go the way anyway, because they know they're here on a mission. They're not just doing this to check the boxes. They're doing this to make an impact. All right. And then they show the way. What I mean by that is, like, you show other people the actions to take, the momentum to create, the things that you did to get to where you are. You're literally showing them and giving them the blueprint. The first way you do that is through your own actions. Like, your actions speak louder than words. A lot of times I think about this in terms of my kids, because my kids are like one of the things that it's like near and dear to me is, like, if I think about like the impact that what I'm doing is going to make on my kids and it's a positive one, I'm going to do it every day. I'm going to do it. I don't care how uncomfortable I feel. I don't care how many times I have to practice and mess up. It doesn't matter to me, because it's like, it's not about me anymore. It's about them. And so if you're that kind of person, I want you to really think about this too. Like, what kind of impact are you making by creating this level of not only energy, but also this level of momentum, right? And remember, leaders know the way, they go the way, and they show it. Showing it through our actions, and then also showing it through literally teaching. Guys, I'm here for a reason, right? I'm here because I want you to create this massive momentum and energy and direction in your life, in your business, in your health, and wherever it is that you want to go. And so I want to show you the way. What's awesome is when you start showing people the way, it actually makes you go the way too. Because I can't teach this and not actually hold myself to the same standard, right? That makes me feel like a hypocrite. And it's something that we talk about a lot. My son will we'll bring this up. He'll talk to my daughter and say, oh, you know what? You're a hypocrite. Why are you telling me to do that? And vice versa. Because nobody ever wants to be labeled as a hypocrite, right? So when we go out and we show the way, it actually gets us to actually take those actions too, which is just another topic. I can actually do an entire workshop on that, okay? So I want to talk a little bit about producers versus consumers, okay? Producers versus consumers. If you're somebody who is a leader, you're what's called a producer. Meaning you're putting out things in the world, you're sharing things, you're like teaching people the steps, you're giving them your energy, and you're producing. Now, we each need to be in certain times producing mode and certain times consuming mode. So when I'm like literally reaching out to Josh, or I'm reaching out to a mentor that I'm going to be part of, or I'm reading a book, I'm actually consuming it, right? But what happens is, a lot of times is when we first get started, we don't realize that we need to be producing more than we need to be consuming. And so when you're in like your business, when you're in like your personal life, or when you're in your health and fitness journey, like literally consuming might help you get started, but consuming looks like you scrolling the news feed, waiting for things to happen, waiting for for people to put stuff in front of you. And producing is like you sitting down and going through this workshop with me and you writing this stuff out. And then you even potentially teaching this or talking about it with somebody else. Maybe you're following, maybe your kids, maybe whatever that is you producing. You're consuming something for the effects of you getting out there and teaching the other people out in the world. So when you learn this stuff, when you are like growing, you got to remember like, hey, you know what? I don't have to just be a consumer. Yes, sometimes being a consumer is good because the best leaders are the best followers, but sometimes you got to get out there and lead. And sometimes you got to get out there and you got to like actually put in the energy and effort. And that's what you're doing here on this workshop. So I just want to say thank you so much for being here, but also don't just listen to what I say and get excited, all right? That's not my goal. My goal isn't to get you excited and to get you motivated in this call. My goal is for you to literally get off this call and have a plan so that you can actually not only implement it, but also create massive momentum in your life and then make that contagious with everybody else that you talk about, all right? Now, when we talk about momentum, I want you to make sure you realize that momentum comes from this one, first off, it comes from this one beginning piece, all right? There's two other pieces that we're going to talk about, but this first piece is the most important of all. Because when you feel of momentum, when you think about momentum, what do you think about? What do you think about when I say the word momentum? I want to see it in the chat. Is there a word that pops up into your mind when you hear the word momentum? What do you think? I want to give you guys a second to type it into the chat. What pops up for you when you think of the word momentum? What is it that pops up for you when you think of the word momentum? All right, one of the things that pops up for me is the word energy. The word that pops up for me is energy. And the reason why is because in order for you to create momentum, what do you need? You need energy. And Teresa said progress. Progress feels incredible, right? And here's the thing. Progress is also a story that we have in here. If you can tell yourself, I'm making progress, even if the outside doesn't show you're making, even if you don't have those results yet, but you're like, I'm making progress, that creates what? Energy. It feels incredible. And then you go out there and you get after it, right? So making progress towards your goal. Shelly even said it. Exactly. Elizabeth said getting started, 100%. Jumping out there, right? Being unstoppable, progress, energy. Exactly. Energy is really why I always think about the foundation of momentum. Because in the beginning, guess what has to happen? A whole ton of energy. Almost said a bad word. A whole ton of energy needs to happen to actually create that beginning momentum, all right? It doesn't mean you have to work yourself to death. It doesn't mean you have to work 24/7. It doesn't mean you have to like, disassociate from your family. None of those things are true, but it does take a lot of energy. So my question to you is, how do you generate more energy? You see, most people come from this angle, which is like, how do I give? How do I do this stuff over here? Like, and that's an important part of the equation. But as a life coach, I like, this is great, but I want to know like how you actually create that energy for yourself. What are some of the things that you do that helps you create enough energy to put out this stuff over here, right? I talk a lot about this channel or on this channel about like how you can excel at work, how can you excel in your business, and how can you excel when it comes to connecting with your family, right? But if all we're doing is constantly adding more to our plate and we don't realize that there's this piece over here, I don't know why I keep doing this with my hands, there's this piece over here where you actually generate the energy you need so that you can pour out your cup. I remember I had this amazing person that we used to work with. Her name is Patty Godinez, and she talked about, and she did this incredible video about like really being like the cup of your family, all right? And you're the cup, and the cup was like centered in this big bowl. And she said, as we go throughout the day, in the beginning of the day, it's best to start out by like filling up your cup. And she did the example of like being able to fill up the cup in the middle. And she's like, what's incredible is as you continue to fill up your cup, what happens to the cup is it literally starts to overflow into like this big bowl. And you start to see this big bowl starting to rise up with water, right? And it's because you have enough water, you've put enough like contents inside, right? Because it starts with the inside, not the outside. And by doing that, it literally overflows out of the outside and it like flows through everything that you literally touch. But if we're constantly thinking about how do we create more momentum and we don't realize that we need to fill up our own cup first, we're literally not going to have the energy that we need to actually create that momentum. So instead of going to the outside of like, what do I need to do to create momentum, which is I'm sure 95% of everybody on this call originally thought is like, what is Mark going to teach me on the outside to do, which is the same way that my brain goes. I'm going to say, no, we start on the inside. Because remember, our outward success is a reflection of our inner growth. if we don't have this energy, if I don't have this level of excitement here on this video, if I'm like not super passionate about helping you guys achieve your goals and really pouring into myself, making myself grow, helping myself get to that next level, it's going to be very hard for me to overflow into you. Right? And so this is an important part of the process, is generating your energy. Now, I have a few different ways that I generate energy, but I also want to hear how you generate energy. So as I go, and I'm going to list a couple things here, I want you to think back to a time when you had massive energy. You had like explosive energy. That's an even one. I like the 2 E's. You had explosive energy and you felt, I'm unstoppable. What was going on? What was happening? What were you doing to generate that energy? Now, while you type that in the chat, I'm going to give you a few different ideas for me, all right? Number one, always goes back for me personally to my health journey. Am I being healthy? Am I taking care of myself? Sometimes that means extra sleep. Sometimes that means, am I eating the right foods? Sometimes it means, am I going out for a walk? Sometimes it means, am I exercising in a way that that literally is different than the time that I did before? Because you know how your body adapts to whatever it is you're doing. So if you're doing the same workout over and over and over and over again, your body's going to stop being able to generate as much energy. It's actually going to generate less and less and less every time you do that same workout. But when you understand the law of adaptation, which means your body will adapt to whatever your energy level you're throwing at it, when you do something new, you're going to be like, oh, I don't know what happened, but I tried this different workout and I just feel like I'm on an entirely different level. And so for me, it's all about like, okay, am I taking care of myself and giving myself enough sleep, enough time to recover? Now, being somebody who has Crohn's disease, which is an autoimmune disease, I need like literally more time to sleep than I used to get when I first started my police career. I still remember going full-time police career, being like that court qualified gang expert, then getting off at like 3 o'clock in the morning, taking a 2-hour nap in my truck, and then having to go to court for like 6 hours and then being back that day for my work. And I couldn't perform on the level that I needed to perform at. And then literally then come home and try to be like a zombie / dad at the same time. And it's because I really wasn't focused on my health related journey. It's very hard for you to create the energy you need to actually become an unstoppable force if you don't have that health related, journey going on. All right. Kiara also says living her purpose. She's getting ahead of me. Teresa said training for a 5K. That's exactly, I'm going to talk a little bit about that when it comes to like challenges and whatnot, but I love that. Challenges definitely do get a lot of us to raise up, even though sometimes challenges will get some of us to lose energy. I'll talk about that in a second. Okay. Elizabeth says, when I went back to competitive gymnastics as an adult, I love that. I love being able to like relive our childhood. And some of us do that through our kids. Like my daughter is like playing soccer right now. And as she's going, I'm like, oh my God, like if I could just go out there and just play, like this would be so awesome. Right. But like being able to relive some of those things that you really loved and you were really excited about. Why couldn't you do that again? So many of those stuff generates our energy, right? And we need energy to create that momentum. What if we did some of that stuff again? We'd be able to generate more energy, right? It's so crazy when you can think about that. All right. Ed says being around in a positive routine. Example, being here, being present. Ed, dude, first off, hats off to you for being here. I know you just went through surgery. I know you have all these things that are kind of going on. But what happens is when you're in this environment, it gets you to level up, right? It gets you to go like, I don't know what just happened right now, but now I just used 45 minutes or an hour of my life and I just feel like energized, right? And then it's taking that and going, how do I continue to level this up? How do I continue to use the things that like got me to have this massive energy into the future, right? Because it's so easy to get back into our normal day-to-day habits and we don't realize it, but before we know it, we have no energy because we're doing no energy producing activities, all right? So exactly, I love that you guys are going in that direction. Okay, so the second thing, and you're gonna see that some of the things I'm gonna talk about are exactly what you guys talked about. The second thing is my personal growth. You know, some people call this personal development. Some people call this reading. Some people call it like, I don't know, going on YouTube. I mean, some of you guys are here on my channel and I have multiple different videos and whatnot that you can like really dive into and grow. But I know for me personally, whenever I'm growing, I feel on fire. It kind of feels like I have more stuff that I need to share. Can you imagine what it would feel like if I grew to a certain point and then I was like, I'm good. I'll just go out and coach and lead everybody from here and just based off of everything that I've ever learned. Well, I would get bored. I would have no really great energy. I wouldn't be learning new things. So for me, it's all about like, how can I learn something new? Now, what personal development and personal growth is it's learning something new it's something that will effectively touch every area of your life. It's not true personal growth unless it actually affects multiple different areas. Now, you could do business development. You could do career development. You could do development with your kids. but really getting to the nitty gritty of like, what's the actual skill you're developing? If you develop a great way of communicating, for example, that makes you a better leader. It makes you a better husband. It makes you a better father. It makes you a better police sergeant. That's what it did for me. And that's what I needed to work on in the beginning is my communication skills, because a lot of it was just me listening and not saying anything. Okay. And so really figuring out like, what is that thing that I need to develop that also gets me super excited and gets me to have this like really fired up level of energy. And when you find out what that is, you double down on it. All right. And you don't just learn things because your friends told you to learn things. You learn things because it fuels you, it fires you up, and you continue to grow. All right. So don't force books. Don't force YouTube channels. If you get to this part of the workshop and you're like, this isn't helpful at all, please don't force this. I don't want anybody to feel like they have to watch the rest of this video if this is not helping you. Find somebody who does. Find something that will literally fuel you, because you're not everybody's cup of tea, and everybody's cup of tea is not for you, okay? Find what really does fuel you, all right? So that's personal development. The third way I generate energy is my environment. Now, Ed, he is a incredible member of our mastermind team. I had a incredible leadership mastermind team back in the day, and Ed was a part of that. So he has like already jumped the gun. And that is like the people that you surround yourself are contagious. Their energy is contagious. Their positivity is contagious. But guess what else is? Negativity is contagious. Like, it's not possible for me is contagious. Like, I'm not good enough is contagious. You start hanging around with other people who don't value their health, their family, their career, their business, their leadership. It's super easy for you not to value it either. It's like a version of peer pressure. And I like to think of this in terms of like, I like to think of it in terms of social cost. Like, who you surround yourself with is like literally who you will become. It's just the way that it is, right? We surround ourselves really because it's the expectations of the peer group. If we have a peer group, their expectations is, I'm going to be healthy. I'm also going to like really treat my family really well. I'm going to create a legacy at home. I'm also going to be an incredible leader at work. And you find other people who are also growing through that, you will literally be able to exponentially grow. Literally doing this right now with one of my main men on my team. We've like really sat down and gone, okay, what can we do to like really develop not only ourselves and our business, but get better at YouTube? And so Kurt and I are like literally diving in to see what we can do together to not only grow exponentially, because when he grows and I grow and we grow together, it's even more impactful, but we want to look for 3 more people. We're like, who are 3 more people that are at this level who want to continue to grow? Because we know that all of that is contagious. So when you think about the environment of what it is that you want to create this next year, how can you put yourself in an environment where just the expectations are for success in that area? People who are not pulling you down, people are giving you energy. I'm sure you've seen that. Like when you're scrolling social media, there's certain people that naturally, it seems like everybody else is getting energy from them. But when you see them, it's kind of like you get into comparison mode, or you start to get like, well, I feel like I have less energy when I see this person, or when I read their posts, or when I see their videos, right? That's cool. Like that's your indication. That's your check engine light. Like we talked about last workshop. That is like, it's time to make a change, right? It's not that there's anything wrong with that person. It's just that's how it flows for you, right? So finding those people that make you feel like afterwards, you're like, you know what? I feel like I got a lot from this. I feel like more energized. I feel like I'm more excited, right? I feel like I'm going to create more momentum with this. And then ask yourself, how am I going to get more of that, all right? So number 3 is your environment. Number 4 is your adventures. And this is kind of similar to what Teresa said. Teresa said she's going to train, or she's training for, or going to train for a 5K. I think that's what I heard you say. You're going to train for 5K, even though she may not have. I may have just implanted that belief inside of her. It's okay. But it really is like doing things that you're not used to, doing things that are out of left field. Teresa likes to joke around about me being spontaneous because I don't. And I don't want to say that I don't. It's just that my brain doesn't work that way. I always like to plan out when I'm going to be spontaneous, which is like really dumb when I say that out loud. But literally doing things that you're not used to doing, like doing a different kind of workout, doing it somewhere else. If you're somebody who's working at home, work at a coffee shop for a little while, like doing something that's a little different. There's this thing called a book called The Adventure Challenge. And what it does is it's one that you can use for couples, one you can use for families. And what it does is it gets you outside of your comfort zone. You're doing different adventures and doing different challenges to get you to like literally raise yourself up. One thing that I did this past week is I sat down and I thought of, okay, what is like a adventure / challenge that I'm going to do this next year that is like really going to fuel me to like get after it. And one of the things I noticed is if I don't have a physical challenge, like my health doesn't stay at the top of my priority. So what I decided to do is I registered for the next Spartan trifecta race. All right. Now, this is something that I did back in 2015, 2016, where I got a trifecta, which is basically you're going through obstacle courses is at different levels. One is 3 miles, one is 6 miles, and one is 13 miles. And so I did that in 2015, 2016. I got in the best shape of my life. And so what I decided to do is like, hey, I'm retiring in February. I'm going to go all in and I'm going to do a trifecta. So I signed up for it. I literally bought shoes around it. I told you I'm a planner, right? I bought different clothes around it, even though it's not until like the middle of January is when it starts. But I did it because it fuels me up. When I think about doing things new, when I think about doing things with the kids that they've never done before, I get so freaking fired up because I'm like, they're going to experience something they've never experienced before. And I'm going to get to relive it with them. It just gets me super excited so I can have that energy. Because here's the thing, energy isn't something that you like store in one area of your life. It's something that affects everything. So when I have high energy around adventure in my personal life, adventure in my business, adventure in my career, adventure in my relationships, it literally flows through everything, all right? So ask yourself, what kind of adventure do you need to plan? What kind of thing do you need to do? What have you been like, has been in the back of your head of like, I really want to try this new thing. I really want to take this new action. I really want to go and create this physical or conquer this physical feat. What is that thing that you can do and you can set and you can take the first action that it takes? For me, it's signing up for it, right? Putting my money where my mouth is, because for me, action always follows wherever I put my money. And so when I do that, it literally is that first step. It's like, I took a step and now it's go time, right? Now my brain is like, how am I going to prepare physically? How am I going to prepare mentally? Like, who can I hang around that's also going through a Spartan race? By the way, if you're going through this and you're like, hey, I want to make Spartan my goal this year, connect with me, please. Reach out to me. Either get onto my email list, go to mindsetwithmark.com, sign up for something so that way we can stay connected. Send me an email, send me a social media message, or even just post in here, I want to do a Spartan. We'll break it down and we'll become an unstoppable team when it comes to that, right? Because that's the power of that community, all right? So ask yourself, what is it that you need to do? What is it you can, like, what kind of adventure can you set yourself up for in especially the first quarter of the new year that will literally set you up for success, all right? All right, so that was the fourth thing. The fifth thing, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The fifth thing, and this is something we're going to be talking about next week, is your core values. Your core values give you energy. Now, there is a way that I was initially taken through core values that was not helpful at all. Have you ever seen these where they're like, okay, look at these 100 words and circle the ones that you think are your values? That doesn't help. It's kind of like I'm actually circling ones that I want to be, but they're not really near and dear to my core. Your core means you don't even have to think about it. It's like literally intrinsically inside. So I have a way of identifying what your core values are and making sure that your goals are in alignment with that. That's what I'm doing next week on the workshop. But what I have to tell you is, like, when you get to the end of the day and you feel totally fulfilled, the reason why is because you are in alignment with your core values. You've literally not pushed one of your core values aside, and you've like literally embodied that, and it's you, and you've lived it out that day. When you feel a little bit off, it's because you either pushed one core value to the side or you didn't inject yourself into any of your core values, into anything that you did that day, all right? For me personally, my core values are health, our family, our impact, and integrity. Those 4 things have to flow, as I'm spitting, have to flow through every single thing that I do. So if I don't feel like I'm living in integrity, I don't do it. And if I feel out of integrity, like I'm trying to be somebody else entirely different, I don't do it because it makes me feel like I'm less than. I just want you guys to know that I screwed up a whole lot of stuff and that I'm here to help you so that you don't have to screw it up in the future, right? And I want to lead that way. I want to make mistakes. I want to mess up my videos. I want to mess up my podcast because I want you to know that that's the way that we work, right? That's the way that our human brain, that's the way that we actually grow, is from doing things wrong, right? And so if I ever try and hide that, I get this weird feeling of like, Mark, you got to point that out because if people didn't see it, like you got to tell them that you made a mistake, right? And so that's why I do that, because of impact, or because of integrity. Impact. I'm here because I want to make an impact. I want to make an impact in my life with my kids, with my amazing, beautiful wife. I want to make an impact at work, and I want to make an impact in my business. And now I want to make an impact on YouTube. I want to make an impact where people are like, you know what? I come to this channel because I know that my life is going to be impacted. And that's what I do. I come here with the idea of like, I need to like literally spread my message as much as I can, right? And if I'm not in alignment with those 4 values throughout the day, I'm going to feel like I'm not living on purpose. I'm going to feel like I'm not living through my passion, which is what Kiara said a little bit ago. It's like, if I don't feel like I'm living within my values, and here's the thing, like most of us don't even know whether we're living within our values. That's what I'm going to do next week. But your core values are so critical when it comes to you actually creating energy. If you're in alignment with your core values, you're going to have more energy at the day. If you aren't in alignment with your core values are going to come up and go, like something's going on. Like you're not making your family a priority. You're not making your health a priority. You're not making impact a priority. You're not making integrity a priority. Those are mine, by the way. Don't use mine. You got to find yours, and I'll help you do that next week. But really, if you're out of alignment, you're going to feel like you have zero energy at the end of the day. All right. Now, this is the reason why it's so critically important that you attack and find your energy. Now, once you go through this step, all right, I want you to literally sit down over this next week and ask yourself, what helps me create energy? In the past, when have I had a lot of energy? What was going on? Who was I around? What was I reading? What was I learning? Was I doing new adventures? Was I taking new action? What were you doing that created that energy for you? Because here's the truth, is if you've created energy in that way before, it's going to also create energy for you in the future if you take those principles and move them forward. So ask yourself, how do I create massive energy in my life? How have I done it in the past? Now, I also want to say this, when I even said like create massive energy, I want to let you know that your energy it should not look like my energy. It's not the way that this works, guys. There's like, I don't know, 8 billion people on the planet, and we have 8 billion different ways that people have and generate energy, all right? Everybody does it a slightly different, and everybody puts it out a slightly different. Do not compare your energy with mine. I want you to compare it to what fuels you and what your version of energy looks like. And I want to let you know, if you rewind 10 years ago to the kind of energy that I had and what I was able to do on video, it was terrible. It was like, oh my God, like I can't believe I actually deleted them. I should have never deleted them, by the way. If you ever post up stuff on your social media or post up stuff on YouTube because you're a creator or something like that, don't delete your first ones, because you want to, number one, be able to go back and go, oh my God, I sucked so bad. But number two, because you want to show that other people that like, hey, this is possible for them too, right? But when I look at that, I wasn't able to generate the energy that I have today. You know why? Because I have momentum. I have momentum. And remember, energy is the first part of momentum that you really need to tackle first. It's that foundation core, all right? So once you have this energy, I want you to ask yourself, how can I protect my energy now? I've noticed that like here, if yours are like the same 5 as me, whether it's your health journey, your personal growth journey, your environment, your adventures, or your core values, you're like, these are the 5 things that fuel me and light me up. How do you protect your energy now that you know? So how can you put yourself in that environment to create more, but also how can you protect it? Because the opposite's true too. If you aren't on a health journey, if you aren't on a personal growth journey, if you aren't hanging out in the right environment, if you aren't doing any adventures and it's just the same old, right? And you aren't identifying your core values, you're actually doing yourself a disservice because you're not able to generate that energy. All the other stuff that we're going to talk about in a minute is going to be irrelevant because you're not going to have the energy to be able to create that level of momentum. All right. Now that's the first piece of creating momentum, is having the energy to create that momentum. The second piece, all right, and this is equally important, but you need that first piece, all right, is literally your commitment, okay? I want you to write this down. My commitment. I also want you to write down, I'm committed. And I want you to circle it. I want you to highlight it 47 different times, because even just saying that, I want you to think about like what that feels like for you when you say, I am committed to doing this. That is like a stake in the ground. It's saying that I'm not going to do this just when it gets comfortable. I'm also going to do this when it gets uncomfortable until it actually comes to fruition, until I'm actually able to see this through to the end. Can't tell you how many people do the first part where they start to generate energy and they take one step and it doesn't go the way that it's supposed to. By the way, that's the way that it's supposed to go. It's not supposed to go the way that you think it's supposed to. But when you take that first step and then literally after that, your commitment drops. You're like, well, I guess this isn't possible for me. And you start making that mean something about you as a human. Commitment says you're not going to do it just when it's comfortable. You're going to do it until it's done. All right. And that is a level of commitment that you can have towards what it is that your specific goals are. All right. Now, I love some of these different quotes, not quotes, some of the different definitions of commitment. All right. So commitment is the state of being dedicated to a cause or an activity. The state of being dedicated to a cause or activity. When you say I'm committed, that means I'm dedicated to it. It doesn't mean I'm going to like try it every once in a while. That doesn't mean that I'm going to do it this week and then maybe next week I'll be dedicated to something else. No, it means I'm dedicated to a cause or activity. The second one is it's an obligation that restricts the freedom of action. It's an obligation that restricts the freedom of action. Let me give you an idea. Are you guys committed to being parents? Or do you wake up some days and go, yeah, I'm not going to be a parent. Like, we'll just let the kids figure it out on their own. No, you're committed to being a parent. It means whether or not like you feel like it today, you're going to be a parent. That is what I'm talking about when it comes to like you're being dedicated And these are the actions you're going to take, because that is not only the role, but the impact that you're going to be able to make. When you're committed to it, it's not like, well, should I be a parent today? It's not even a thought, guys. When you're committed to it, you're like, no, this is going to happen. It's probably not going to happen the way that I say it's going to happen or that I want it to happen, but it's going to happen the way it's going to happen. And I'm going to put in the energy and effort, figure things out, tweak things along the way, grow, and then it's going to happen, even if it doesn't turn out the way that I think it's going to. All right. And when you have that level of commitment, it changes the game. Now, if you guys know Grant Cardone, he is one of those guys who has a ton of energy and is also very contagious. He has this great quote about commitment. He says, it's not the smartest or the brightest or the most prepared. It is those who can commit passionately to their cause. Let me say that again because I stumbled. It's not the smartest or the brightest or the most prepared. It is those who can commit most passionately to their cause. Guys, it's very easy to look at somebody who's already been able to achieve something that you've achieved and not see all the stumbling, all the different misdirections, all the different times they screwed it up to get to where they are. But I promise you, and I've talked to thousands and thousands of super successful people, that they actually have had those times where they've taken the wrong step. They have said the wrong thing. They've done the wrong thing. They've created the wrong business. They've done all of these things. But if they hadn't started and they hadn't been committed to it, they wouldn't have been able to see it through to the end. It's not the brightest. The brightest doesn't make you have success. I know tons of bright people who never do anything with that, all right? It's not the most prepared, even though I love to be prepared. But you know how the most prepared people are? It's like it has to be perfect before it gets put out there. And guess what? That means it never gets put out there. If you're a perfectionist, like how I used to be, you're like waiting until it's like 100% done. And that is never the case. Like you can't improve inaction. In all the time you think about in here about improving it, you're actually not improving it because you got to put it out into the world and see what the real world like says about that thing, right? So it's not just the most prepared. It's also, or it has to do with the people who commit most passionately to their cause. So I want to share with you guys some ways that I use this level of commitment to find the commitment inside of you. Because some of you guys might be like, I don't know what my commitment is. Like, I don't really know how to be committed to it. And I'm going to tell you a couple of different ways that I do. And then I want you to find your way of generating your commitment. All right. Number one is reminding yourself of your actual commitment each day. So when I talk to people, whether it's one-on-one or in a group program, I like to ask them this question is like, what about like the thing that you're doing? What kind of impact is that going to make in the world? When you think about like, you know, whether it's you excelling in your career, whether that's you starting a business, whether that's you like in your health, like what is it that's so important or meaningful to you about doing that thing? What that does is it helps us dig deep into our purpose, all right? Because it's very easy to get distracted by what we're putting out into the world and the fact that it's not at the level that people, that we want it to be. And a lot of people are not responding back to it, or a lot of people are not like really saying that this is really great, right? We get distracted by that. But when we get into our heart voice, when we start to ask ourselves, what about what it is that I'm doing is important or meaningful to me? What is it about what I'm doing that's important and meaningful to my family? And what kind of impact is it going to make in the world? One of the questions I love asking business owners is like when 10,000 people sign up for your program, your product, and they're using it and they're getting like the full effects of it, what is that going to do for the world? What is it going to do for the people in their family? What kind of a ripple effect is that going to have on everything that they touch? And when you think about this, it kind of reminds you to be committed to the cause. If all I was doing here, guys, was coming on here to put together, like, let's say this for example, all right? Because I want to get more watch hours on my YouTube channel, right? If all I was doing was coming in here and I just wanted to talk over and over and over again so I can get more watch hours on my YouTube, like that wouldn't fuel me enough to stay committed to it on the times when nobody shows up, right? On the times when nobody's taking any action, or the times that like a hater or a naysayer comes up and says something about, I don't know, my audio or whatever it is, right? It's very easy to get distracted. But if I'm like, people need to hear this message. When I'm sharing like how to create momentum and energy and how to like find their commitment, it's literally going to make them better parents. It's going to make them better police sergeants. It's going to make them better business owners. It's going to make them better friends. It's going to make them better coaches. And people need this right now. Somebody is struggling right now in their life, and you have the key to help them unlock it. And when you realize that, you're like, that's just, I got to get uncomfortable, put myself out there and really help people bridge that gap. It gets you into the feeling of this purpose. It's like, this is what I was put here to do on this planet. Now, I have to say, doing this once is great. We're going to do this a little bit next week for you guys to really tap into this. Doing it once is great, but how about doing it every single day, reminding yourself of what you're fighting for? I have this list of affirmations that I read every single day. If you're on the YouTube channel, you can actually go. I think it's like affirmations for leaders or something like that inside of my YouTube channel. You can scroll down to the videos. It's basically my top affirmations, and it also talks about my core values, and I also will remind myself of my goals, and not just my goals. Because if I say my goals are to make $500,000, like that's great, but what kind of impact is that going to make? Underneath that, I write the impact that it's going to make. It's going to make me a better human. It's going to make me a better father, me a better husband. It's going to make me a better business owner. Oh, and also it's going to help change millions of people's lives, because I can't make $500,000 and not help change people's lives, right? It doesn't work that way. And so when I can reframe that and I remind myself, because I read it, sometimes I'll even say it out loud and it makes me feel a little awkward, but at the time, it also fuels me. Why wouldn't I do that every single day? So when you find what it is that you're committed to, and you ask yourself, like, what is it about doing this thing that is important or meaningful to me? What kind of impact is it going to make in the world? Whatever comes out of your mouth or in your mind, and it fuels you, if you get this feeling in your body that like, I'm freaking unstoppable. I'm going to go out there and I'm going to literally share the best that I have, and I'm just going to give it to people. Whether or not they join, whether or not they get excited about it, whether or not they take action on it, I'm just going to give them the best that I can do, and I'm going to continue getting better from here. But I'm also going to lean into people, especially when it feels uncomfortable, because I know that's what leaders do. And if I really want to show other people like that's what they should do, then I need to do it myself. And when I do that, I'll write it down and I'll read it every single morning. I'll read it before I jump into business. I'll read it before I have a trip with my family. I literally do this even on vacation, because if it fuels me, why wouldn't I want to be fueled when I'm on vacation where I'm having that unplugged time with my family, right? So finding what that commitment is and reminding yourself of it every single day. Now, the second piece that comes about when it comes to commitment is showing up no matter how you feel. Now, for my push coaches out there, we have something called the push method, right? It's the like literally the systematic way that we can literally see how our thoughts are literally getting us to feel a certain way in our body. And then from those feelings, we actually take specific actions in our life. And either those feelings or those actions are in the direction of where we want to go, or they're in the directions of where we don't want to go. The power of life coaching is really finding out what is going on inside of your brain that's getting you to feel that you have to, just feel a certain way in your body, and getting you to take actions that's not in congruence with what you want to do. Meaning you wake up in the morning time, if there's something going on in here that makes you feel like unworthy, or you're not good enough, or you're just going to fail, or it's just not possible for you, you're going to go take actions out in the world that's in alignment with that. You're going to close your laptop. You're not going to do the live. You're not going to do the workshop. You're not going to put together the stuff. You're not going to do the email. You're not going to spend time with your kids. You're not going to, go out for that promotion. You're going to literally convince yourself not to do anything. You're going to be back in the past. So when we can come to this realization that we can feel a way and we can reframe what's going on in here to literally take a different path, sometimes that's reading your affirmations, sometimes that's connecting with a coach, sometimes it's like listening to some audio, some motivational posts, some different things like that literally can help you flip the switch. You can go, you know what? I don't feel like doing this, but I'm going to do something to help me generate the right feelings that I need to go out there and get after it. Because it doesn't matter. Can you imagine what your life would look like if you just had to do things based off of how you initially felt when you thought of them? Working out, like right now, I don't have to think about it. But back when I was 100 pounds overweight, I had to think about it all the time. I was like, oh, really? Like, I kind of deserve a rest. I did a lot of extra overtime. My brain is literally trying to rewire so that I go back to my old patterns, right? But when I go, you know what? It's okay. I can actually find a reason that I do want to work out. What kind of role model am I if I'm not working out in front of my kids? What am I teaching them when I'm going out there, when I'm getting uncomfortable, when I tell them I woke up and I didn't want to exercise today, but I did it anyway? What kind of like way am I teaching when I'm actually taking those kind of actions? And that gets me to wake up in the morning, then that's how I fuel it. I find those stories, those thoughts, those things that help me get after it every single day. So I guess the really nitty gritty of this one is you don't have to feel like doing it. You just have to do it. You have to find a way, something in here to get you to take those actions. And if it's just like, hey, I'm committed to this, and I'm committed to it not just when I feel like doing it, but also when I don't feel like doing it, because I'm a leader and this is what leaders do. If that's your way of writing an affirmation, write that affirmation, tape it to your tape it to your forehead, tape it to your mirror, do whatever you can to look at it every single day and remind yourself of what you're fighting for, right? The last piece about commitment, I keep wanting to type something in Zoom. I always like to do that because people can copy and paste it. Is the last piece is being unmoved by the opinions of others. Okay, being unmoved by the opinions of others. When you get to your near and deep conviction, it doesn't matter if people at work support you. It doesn't matter if people in your business support you. Honestly, it doesn't matter if your family supports you. I remember Josh telling me this once because so many times we're like, well, my husband or my wife doesn't support me in this. And he would ask this question. He's like, let me ask you, do you have a TV show that you really love? And let me give you an example. They're like, yeah, I really love, Keeping Up with the Kardashians. Okay, so you like the Kardashians. Now let me ask you, what would happen if your husband didn't like the Kardashians? And I remember him having this conversation. The person's like, I don't care. This is what I like. Like, he can watch stuff on his own. This is what I love and enjoy, so I'm going to watch it. And he's like, so why wouldn't you think about your business that way? Remember, your business or your family or your career, this is what's important or meaningful to you, right? This is like what you truly value. If you have people on the outside telling you what to value, you're going to be in total misalignment, which is why Core Values is next week. You're going to be in misalignment with what you really want. So if you have something you're convicted to, it doesn't matter what other people say or do in response to that. Now, sometimes if somebody that I actually do value their opinion, I will actually think about it and go, what point do they have? And then I will, sometimes I'll just say, you know what? That's so noted, but I'm also still convicted to this. And sometimes it'll give me some new information. I'm like, okay, I'm okay to change my mind a little bit. This is the direction now that I want to go, right? But most of the time, when you have people that are haters, people who have been stuck their whole life telling you that this is how you get unstuck, right? People who've have never lost any weight, but they're telling you how to lose weight. People who have never grown a business, but they're telling you how to grow a business. You got to remember hey, you know what? If I wouldn't accept their opinion, I wouldn't accept their advice, right? Why would I literally allow that to get me off course when they're nowhere near where I want to be, right? They're nowhere near the things that I want to create in my life. I don't want to duplicate what they duplicated. So why would I take their advice, right? And so really, when you think about it this way, it's I have to be unmoved by the opinions of others. Can you imagine what would have happened if MLK, from the first time that he made some kind of speech or something, put something out into the world, if he was like, well, not everybody likes this, so I'm going to just kind of sit in the background and not do anything about this. Guys, the world would not look the way that it is today. As a leader, it is your job to be unmoved by the opinions of others. Sometimes what it means is you hear or you see something on the outside, somebody gives you their opinion, and you get this really nasty feeling in your body. And the feeling is oh man, this sucks. Maybe I should change, or maybe I should do this. And then I want you to stop yourself. And I want you to go, wait, hold on a second. I can look at things from a different perspective, but I'm not going to allow anybody to adjust my commitment, because this is what I'm committed to doing. This is the purpose behind it. And this is the way that I'm literally going to be able to create things in the world using my passion, using my commitment, not based off of their responses to what it is that I'm doing. And when you step into that, you start finding new ways to do things. One of the things that I dislike about the idea of mentoring, which is different than coaching, is mentoring is here's the steps that I took to get to where I am. And when we do that, sometimes we limit people because we're well, you know what? If you don't do it this way and this doesn't work for you, you can't be successful. Guys, there's a million different ways to do things. People have done business where they do video, where they only do posts, where they only do emails, where they do ads, where they don't do ads, where they do in person, where they don't do in person. I can literally find somebody who has had massive success in every way and the exact opposite of that too. You've got to be willing to find your answers for that, right? So if somebody gives you advice, I want you to remember that too, is yeah, they're giving me advice, but this isn't the one right, best, only way. Because there's no one right, best, only way. There's your way, and finding your way of doing that. Maybe it isn't YouTube workshops like is my way, right? How do you find and tap into your way of doing this? And it's the same reason why I took you through this process today, all right? Because when you can create and find the energy that you need using your ways of doing it, maybe my ways are different than yours. That's cool. I want you to find your ways. But when you can tap into finding this source of energy, it's going to get you to start creating and pushing yourself to create momentum. And then you sit down and you figure out, what am I committed to? What am I actually going out to create in the world? And what kind of impact is that going to have on others? Then you can start to create even more momentum. And when you start creating this momentum, you need to ask yourself, how do I keep this momentum going? Because once you get to this point, guys, if you stop growing, you stop surrounding yourself in an environment, you stop doing those things that got you here, guess what's going to happen? You're not going to stay the same. We start to go down, go down, go down. How many times do we need to hear things over and over and over again so that we continue to level up, right? Sometimes we don't even need to learn new things, but we have to make sure that whatever got us here is what we continue to do, and we continue to level it up. Like they say, new level, new devil. So once you get here to this point, what's that next step that you're going to do to not only keep creating more energy, but keep reminding yourself of your commitment so you can create the momentum you need to in your life so you can truly become unstoppable. Guys, when you do this, when you put yourself in an environment to create this kind of energy, to create this kind of commitment for yourself, it is contagious. I want you to think about the momentum that you can create on your own. And then I want you to think about everybody else who you bring along the journey. What will that momentum do for the team? What will it do for your family? What will it do for the people that you surround yourself with? And what will it do for the people that are watching you and following you on social media, following you in your career path, following you like your kids? What kind of impact is that going to make when everybody has momentum? Guys, momentum, just like energy, just like positivity, just like negativity, it's contagious. And when we become producers in the world and we're putting out the energy and we're teaching people what has helped us create that energy, and we're literally getting that conviction and passing that on to people to find their conviction, not because it should be ours, it should be the same as ours, no, because we find and tap into what's really like best for them, then we can help generate this massive momentum that literally has the ripple effect, not only in you, not only in your family, not only the people you coach and you lead, but also the world. Because what is life going to look like when 100,000 people, when 500,000 people have that solution that you are like putting out into the world, that you are like literally teaching and training? What happens when I can help create energy, commitment, and conviction, and also like momentum in people's lives? 500,000 different people. That is going to literally change the entire planet. And that's what I'm here to do. Am I going to succeed? I don't know, but I'm committed to it. And that's because that is the level that I'm like really like ready to lean into, but it's also the people that I surround myself with. Because I also surround myself with people like Josh Coates, people who are committed to making an impact on the world, people like Annie, people like Teresa, people like everybody inside of my Push Coach certification school, people inside of our 626 program. I'm like, we are committed to making huge impact, not only this year and next year, but like exponentially. And when you do that, you create that, it literally is something that is contagious to everybody else. All right. I'm going to end with this. And that is like, I want to hear what your biggest takeaways are from this workshop. What are the things that spoke loudest to you? What are you going to be focusing on this week? What are you going to be like literally leaning into so that you can create not only massive energy, but remind yourself of the conviction of why you're here on this planet, what it is kind of impact you're doing out there and creating and making in the world so you can create massive momentum. And don't forget to put yourself on that list. Remember, you cannot create energy if you're just constantly giving. If you're giving, you're going to be like a spent out battery. You're not going to be able to recharge yourself to actually fuel yourself to get back after it the next day. Now, don't forget, if you're not subscribed to the channel and you love this kind of stuff, next week we're going to be talking about core values, and we're also going to be talking about creating what we call your push goals for 2023. Definitely tune into that, because when you have momentum, when you have energy, you have to make sure that you're pointing it in the right direction that's in alignment with your goals, but it's also in alignment with what you value. Otherwise, your commitment will be distracted. All right. And if you haven't watched that last workshop that I did, go to my YouTube, Modern Leadership, at Modern Leadership. Go check out the live that I did about the success equation, because putting this into actual practical steps is what we did inside of that program, okay? Or what we did inside of that workshop. And I appreciate you guys so freaking much for making it here to the end. I want to ask you, did you get more energy from this? Did you get more momentum from this? Rewatch it, share it, spread it, do whatever you need to, because if it did to you, it's going to do the same thing for other people. Keep plugging in. I'm so freaking proud of you, because leaders do things that nobody else does. We are willing to feel uncomfortable and to do it anyway. And you did that here on this workshop. I appreciate you so much. Keep leading from the front, and I'll see you guys next Saturday.